Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. I'm Robin, and today I thought I would talk about some books that I have been reading recently, or kind of recently. I haven't done a wrap-up since like March-ish, I think, so you guys have no idea what I've been reading from March until now. So I thought, let's just talk about the books I've been reading. And so is it a lot of books? Kind of. There's like 22-ish books that I've read over the past 3 months, but I tried to break them down by genre as best I could. Some of them I just kind of threw in an all-together pile because I couldn't think of like what genre I would go into, but whatever. It's the general genre. So if you want to just, jump by genre, you can. But let's get into these books and talk about them, right? So in March, I participated in Middle Grade March, which is run by a group of wonderful women that I will all link down below. And then I also participated in a Game of Tomes readathon that I co-host with Dasha at Mythic Pages and Ray from Bookmark Chronicles. It was such a fun time. I loved it. And so I did a lot of reading for those two readathons in March. And then in April, I tried to get through a lot of my arcs that I had just hanging around. And I was like, I've had these for a while. And so, yeah. And so if I read one of those arcs, I will put the date that it was released because they've all been released by now. And, my bad. And then I just read some other things here and there just for funsies. So yeah, let's get into it. I'll start off with my nonfiction reads that I had. I had 3 of them. The first one was I Don't Want to Die Poor by Michael Arsenault. I read I Can't Date Jesus last year and I loved it. It was such a funny little memoir, collection of essays really, from him about why he can't date Jesus and being Black and gay in the church. It was an interesting read, but that's not what this book was about. This book was about debt, and he really went into like his student loan debt and how it kind of just set him up for financial, not ruins. He's like making his way. He's on his way to like a better place financially, but he really does talk about how he took out these loans so that he could go to college, because not everyone can just go to college without loans. In fact, many people can't. And how when they're taking out these loans as like 18-year-olds, there's no one has any idea what they're really signing up for and what they're signing their life away for, and how it just kind of worried him, and how he was always thinking about it as he got his first job. He was like, I need something that can pay back my loans and can just help me live in general. And so he was like, I can't really focus on passions because I'm focusing on getting a job where I can pay off debts and just live. It was an interesting collection of essays that he had. I don't know, it just seemed really repetitive at some times, and it just was like, I get it. You have these student loan debts and they are just annoying, trust me, I know, and sometimes can seem overwhelming, but it just kept going and going, and it was like, I get it. So like, let's talk about some other aspects of your financial life besides these student loan debts, and like maybe like how does it impact you more today and like living life now, and instead of like what it did in the past and why you got the loans and how those loans made you feel when you got them and blah, 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 blah. I mean, I overall enjoyed it, but I felt like it could have been shorter, maybe with different essays or something. I don't know. So I read that for Game of Tomes readathon. I also read How to Slowly Kill Yourself and Others in America by Kiese Layman. I also previously read a Kiese Layman book, Heavy, maybe a couple of years ago, and I loved it. But I will say that I DNF'd this book. I think it's a soft DNF for now, actually. I don't think I was in the right headspace for it. And so I was just trying to like read these collection of essays. It's just a collection of essays on a variety of topics. And I got maybe to the third essay and I was just like, I'm not really feeling it right now. And so I just put it down, and I always had the intention to go back and read it, but I just haven't yet. So maybe it's a DNF for now and not forever. Then I read Hood Feminism by Mickey Kendall. This is about the intersectionality of race and feminism, and how feminism, or the feminist movement, just kind of, from a white perspective, doesn't take race into account on a lot of things, but it really does. I think a lot of times feminism is focused on, you know, equality between men and women, but there's so much more that takes place and just impacts all of that, especially race, where people live, the things that people have access to, food, housing, education, all of those things really have an impact. It's not just as easy as like, oh, we want to make as much as a man, but it's really like people just really want to have equal rights across the board. I think it was a great like baseline primer type of book. You know, for somebody who has never really thought about where race and feminism actually meet, whether they have any commonalities at all. I definitely feel like it should be required reading in high school across the country. It never would be, of course. And some people just really need to read it so that they can check their privilege and see how it's not just a man versus woman thing, right? It's not just a women want to be equal with men. There's just so much more behind it. It was a great read. I would suggest it obviously to anyone because I'm saying it should be required reading. So there's that. Those were all of my nonfiction reads for the last few months. And so let's get into some fiction. So I read some mystery, thrillers, suspenseful type books, which I don't generally do. It's not typically the genre that I gravitate towards, but I had a good time. One of the books that I read was You by Carolyn Kepnes. This is your like in the mind of Joe, who is following, oh man, I forgot the name of the woman that he's stalking, but it sounds weird to say. I had a really good time. Joe is such a creepy guy, and Bex, that was her name, Bex. And he's such a creepy guy, and like you just see how unhinged he is, how he's like, you're kind of with him, like you're not really with him because he's just totally like just off the scale. And then, but like you're like, okay, I guess you would be upset maybe. And then he just goes totally left, and you're like, whoa, bro, how did we get here? You are very upset, and you're doing the craziest things for this person, not even for this person, it's really for you. You think you're doing it for this person. And then it's just so totally insane. It's a wild ride, the things that he does for Bex, and to like get her to know what she's thinking and doing and where she is. And the stalking level was just like at an all-time high. I was just like, whoa, my guy. Also, I think this is the first book in a series, and the way that it ended didn't make me feel compelled to read the rest of the series. I think it ended just fine where it was, so I will not be continuing with the rest of the series, but I would say read You for an unhinged perspective of a stalker. It might be a fun time for you. It was for me. Then I read Death Note Volume 6. I'm making my way through the whole series. And again, a good time. I can't really tell you what's going on. As I always say about this, we're still on a cat and mouse game with Light and Elle, and trying to figure out who the killer is. I'm having a good time. This is kind of where it has started to deviate from the anime series, and not too much, but there's just like a few details that were not in the anime that I'm just really enjoying seeing more of. You're just, at this point, Light doesn't really know what's going on, kind of, and it's exciting to see everything unfold because I'm like, where is this going? What's going to happen? So I'm excited to pick up Volume 7 when I get a chance. And very randomly, I was at the library. I saw this book. It's called Siri, Who Am I by Sam Tashida. I was like, I'm curious. So this is about a woman who wakes up with memory loss. She has no idea who she is, what she does. She just knows that she's in a very fabulous, I think she's like wearing Prada or Gucci dress or something, and she has her phone. I don't even think she has her wallet. She doesn't even know what happened to her wallet. So, but what she does have is her Instagram feed and her account. And she's trying to like look through all of her pictures, try to figure out, piece together the last few days of her life based on what she's posted, based on comments that people have made. Apparently she's some type of influencer, I guess. And so she's trying to piece together who she is. She enlists the help of the person who is house sitting her, what she finds out is her boyfriend's house, and together they solve who she is until she can kind of get her memory back. And in doing so, they uncover something very mysterious, something very shady happening. This was not the grandest piece of literature I've ever read. This wasn't the most mysterious and like thrilling, but was it good for a potentially like a summer read on the beach and you're just reading it really fast? Absolutely. Moving on to some romance that I read. And it's interesting because all of them were arcs that I had. So the date will be somewhere. The date that they were released will be somewhere. First one that I read was I'm So Not Over You by Kosoko Jackson. And let me tell you, I did not enjoy this. I'm so upset that I didn't enjoy it because it had fake dating, it had second chance romance, and I was like, I'm gonna love this. First of all, I don't know what it is about fake dating, I just love it. I know it's the dumbest thing ever, and who has really done this in real life? I don't know, but I love it. I always do. But let me tell you why I was annoyed. Or maybe let's rewind, shall we? Let me tell you what this is about. Kian is a regular dude in college, right? No, he's out of college. Him and his boyfriend are out of his ex-boyfriend are out of college. Kian used to date Hudson Rivers, who is this very handsome, rich guy, and for reasons unknown, they break up. And Kian was obviously upset about their breakup. But one day, Hudson comes back into Kian's life and it's like, hey, can you do me a solid? Can you pretend to still be my boyfriend because my parents are in town and they don't know that we broke up? Kian is like, why would I do this? Whatever happened between the two of them left a sour taste in Kian's mouth, and he's like, I'm not here for the shits. Reasonable, right? But she's like, you know what? I'm gonna go along with it. Fine. I don't care why. I love it. Let's fake date. But let me tell you why I started to get annoyed. One, Kian is a little annoying. He has this attitude for no reason at all towards people, mostly towards Hudson. And it's like he just pops off at the most random moments where like nothing should have been bothering you. And it's like, oh, where did this come from? Where did all this attitude come from for no reason? It was very annoying. Then Hudson has no personality. The only thing I know about Hudson is that he's handsome, he is rich. That's all I know about him. I couldn't tell you anything. I think he is going to like become part of his family's beer company? Do they make beer? Wine? It's a libation of some kind. I don't know. But that's all I can really tell you. He has this weird family dynamic with his mother. I don't even think it's his mother. I think it's mostly like his father and his sister, which was also very weird because in the beginning, Hudson and his sister seemed like ride or die siblings. And then later on, there was this weird conflict. Whatever. Then, spoiler. So I'm sorry. If you don't want to be spoiled, you should leave or mute me or whatever. But we never find out why they broke up in the first place. So now I don't even know why I should be invested in this relationship. They could have broken up over something completely terrible. And I would not have been like, yeah, let's give this a second try. Let's fake date. Like, I kind of need to know why you guys broke up in the first place. And then there were just so many inconsistencies in the story. And I was just like, this could have gone through a second round of editing or something, because the inconsistencies are just so weird and random. Ending was just kind of like, fast forward 5 years, here they are. And I was just like, but we were just, it didn't end. It was giving me a headache, but I think I was reading. Ray ended up DNFing it, and she was smart. She was smart. But I needed to know how it ended. I needed to know where this was going. And let me tell you, it went nowhere. Then I read Made in Manhattan by Lauren Lane. I think I was in a super rom-com feeling kind of mood. It was cute. This woman it was giving me like Eliza Doolittle feels, but like the other way around. So this woman is a high society person in Manhattan, and she takes on the endeavor of having to turn this country bumpkin dude into a high society dude so that he can take over his grandmother's company, because he is the only heir for this older woman. And they bump heads, obviously. They are not getting along. But then they slowly start to learn each other and get along with each other. Things go really well. They start to fall in love, but then it's just like, this is scary and I don't know what we're doing and I could just get up and leave at any moment, so I'm gonna detach. But then, they come back together. It was cute, it was fun, it was light, easy breezy, beautiful cover book. And that was that book. And I read Asking for a Friend by Andy Osho. That was another arc, another 3-star read. It's about 3 friends who are in various stages of like relationships. One woman, Jemima, I think, it has sworn off love and after a really bad heartbreak. And then there's another woman, Simi. She is looking for love everywhere. Anytime someone bats their eye at her, she's like, he's the one, he's gonna marry me, I know he loves me. And then there's Megan, who is totally in denial that she is in a stable, loving relationship because she's just so focused on her career and she has no time for love to get in the way. And then the 3 friends come together after Simi goes through yet another breakup, and they make this vow that they're going to find guys for each other. Jemima's not here for the shits because she is scared of being vulnerable. She doesn't want to get into any kind of relationship. She doesn't even want to like talk to a man. Understandable. And she is like, all right, I'm here for it. She kind of ends up meeting somebody, but she doesn't want to tell her friends that she's met somebody and that she kind of has feelings for him. She doesn't even want to tell herself. She can't even admit it to herself that she finds this guy attractive and fun. And so one of her friends tries to date him, and then just comedy and a slew of errors, just chaos ensues. It was, again, another good, fun, easy, light book. There were some problems that I had with it. I did not like Megan in the slightest. She was a very hard character. I just was like, why are you so hard on your friends? Like, they're your friends, right? I think. Also, Jemima was a little annoying because there was just so much miscommunication happening with her, and I just thought, like, if you would just say the words, things would not escalate to this. But even with all of that, I still had a good time. I still would like read this by the beach. There were some really funny moments in it, and so I enjoyed it. I would suggest you pick it up if you're looking for something light and airy. And then I read By the Book by Jasmine Guillory. It's a spin on Beauty and the Beast. Isabella, she is an assistant to an editor, and then there's Beau, who is the author who's supposed to be writing his memoir, but he has not given them anything to look at, nothing. It's been months, maybe a year or so, And so Isabel is sent to go get something from Bo and to say like, hey, we need to see some of your writing. And so Belle, that's not her name. They called her Izzy. So Izzy ends up staying with Bo and trying to help him through the writing process so that he can get past whatever writer's block he's got going on and so that he can produce something to the editor. It was also cute, very light on any kind of like steamy stuff. I don't even think there's maybe like one fade to black, maybe. But it's still in the vein of cute rom-comness. I really enjoyed it. I love the reimagining of Beauty and the Beast, the twist on it. I love that Izzy worked in the publishing industry and she was trying to get this manuscript from Bo. They were both great characters. They talked about things, which I really appreciated. We know how much I hate miscommunication here. And I just think it was like a great time overall. 4 stars. But you know what? It's Jasmine Guillory, so it's going to be hard for me to not give it 4 stars. I mean, I'm a little biased here. I am a fan. Moving on to some just general contemporary, the mixed bag of fiction things. I read a lot of things for middle grade March that'll fall into this category and just some other things as well. One of the things that I read is something that I DNF'd, My Life as an Ice Cream Sandwich by E.B. Zaboy. I read that for middle grade March. I was really disappointed that I didn't finish it. I really enjoy E.B. Zaboy's writing, or what I've read from her so far. We're following Ebony Grace, who's a little bit of an awkward kid, and she's having trouble fitting in with friends and people around her. The only person that she really gets along with is her grandparents, or her grandfather in particular, who's an astronaut, and they go on imaginary missions. But one summer, her mother sends her from Alabama to live with her dad for the summer in New York, and she's very overstimulated by everything. She doesn't know how to fit in with the other girls or the other kids in general, and so she used to have this best friend, or that she thought was a best friend, and it didn't pan out. She was like, your dad actually paid me to hang out with you because you are weird. And Ebony was like, what do you mean? Why would he do that? I'm not weird. I don't know. At some point, I don't really know what happens, clearly because I DNF'd it, but I just got very annoyed with Ebony Grace as a character, and I was just like, I don't like this. I don't like this story. Where is it going? I don't like the secret with the grandpa, what's going on with him. I never did find out. I never will. And so I'm sure it's great for somebody, but it was not for me. Then I also read When Life Gives You Mangoes by Karen Gettin, again for middle grade March. This is about a girl who lives on an island. Her and her best friend are not speaking for reasons, and she's just so angry about it. She's like, how could she treat me like this? What did I ever do to her? And meanwhile, the adults around her are trying to like just soothe her and coddle her and say like things are gonna be okay. Her other friends are also like, things are gonna be all right. You kind of find out why her and her best friend fell out with each other. There was an accident maybe like a year prior in the book, and that's when things took a turn. She kind of has moments of memory loss, and that plays into why her and her best friend are no longer speaking. There was also like a part where her uncle had been ousted on the island, and people ousted him because they thought he was weird and he could speak to spirits. And that comes into play into this book as well. I think he was maybe my favorite character out of all of it, even though he's in the book for that long. And that's okay. I overall had a good time with it. I come to find out that I do not enjoy things where like we keep alluding to something, but we never say what the thing is until like 75% into the book. It was driving me crazy. I was like, what is this thing that we're talking about? Let's just address the problem. Let's talk about it. But like we didn't until like way, way late in the book. And I was just like, oh, okay, I get it now. But Still would have made the book all right if we had talked about it a little sooner. That's just me. That's just me. Then also for middle grade March, I read Orphan Island by Laurel Snyder. This was about a bunch of kids, 12 I think, that were sent to live on an island. There are no adults. They kind of take care of themselves. They range in ages from like 3 to 12 I think. And the oldest person on the island becomes the leader until it is time for them, I think on their 13th birthday, to leave the island and go back to wherever they came from. They don't remember where they came from. They don't know. We never find out like how they get to the island, where they go once they leave. But the person who's now in charge, her best friend just left the island. She's very upset and she is now the leader, but she cannot come to grips with being the leader because she's like, that means that I have to leave soon. I'm not ready to leave. And so she kind of spends her whole year, instead of like training the next person to be a good leader, she spends the whole year pouting and trying to like ignore the things that normally would happen. She doesn't train her next successor. She doesn't take the newest comer to the island. She doesn't like really try to show them ways, which is what the leader does. And she's just like, I'm going to live in my own world and just pretend like none of this is happening and just live my best life. Cool. She was very annoying as a character. In fact, the most annoying. I vibed with the other people on the island who were like, girl, what are you doing? If you don't get your shit together so that we can keep the things on the island going. Like, the island provided everything that these kids needed until the leader started acting out and like wasn't doing what was best for everybody else or herself. Now, after reading this, I was like, clearly this is a metaphor for transitioning from childhood to adulthood or whatever. If I was reading this as like a 12-year-old, I would not pick that up. So I don't know if that's the actual intended message of this, but I was just kind of annoyed. I think I gave this like 2.5 stars because I was hoping that by the time I ended it, I would figure out how they got to the island, why they were on that island, what happened to their moms and dads. I didn't. So, and the main character was just annoying to me. I don't know. I gotta be more selective with my middle grade or something. Or maybe just contemporary middle grades are just not for me. Maybe like I just need to stick with like fantasy middle grades. Maybe that's the key. I read a historical fiction, Night Train to Berlin. I had an arc of it. It was by Melanie Hudson. This is about a woman who does paintings. It's like not 1994. This is 1944 in Berlin, and actually it takes place across a lot of places in Europe. But this woman is traveling to Berlin so that she can take pictures or paint pictures of like what's happening in the war for women's magazines and like newspapers. And on this train, she meets this guy who's a journalist, and they have a great time just talking to each other, and then they keep bumping into each other at certain aspects of this journey. Now, it's also a dual timeline because it's present day, and then there's this woman who is the granddaughter to the best friend of the first woman, and they are having similar journeys where they are trying to figure out who they are as people, as women, trying to find their place in this world and just in the industries that they are both in, while at the same time also falling for somebody, some stranger that they just meet on a whim. It was sad and beautiful, and I really, really enjoyed it. My heart was just like, oh, it hurts so good. I had such a good time with it. The dual timelines were very well done. I liked the 1944 timeline a little bit more because we went a little bit more in depth. It spanned over a longer period of time, whereas the present day timeline was just a much shorter period of time. I think maybe it was on the actual train ride and then maybe a few days after. But the 1944 timeline spanned like almost a year, and you just got to see this beautiful love story unfold. Loved it. And then last but not least in this general fiction-ish section, I read Beloved by Toni Morrison. This was my first Toni Morrison. I don't know what I was doing in high school when I was supposed to be reading Toni Morrison, probably reading SparkNotes, to be honest. But I had a great time with this. I will say I was very confused. She has a very distinct writing style that I just was not used to, and so it took me a little bit to like get into it and fully understand what was happening. So we're following Sita, who escaped from slavery, and she's living in Ohio with her daughter and her mother-in-law. And one day this woman who maybe is her dead child come back to life, Beloved, comes to stay with them. Sita's daughter, Beloved, passed away in a very interesting way. And it says that her spirit has been haunting this house forever, just causing havoc and mayhem. Maybe Beloved has come back as an adult woman, but there's very much a lot of talk about grief and what does it mean to be free? What does it mean to be a free man? What does it mean to be a free woman? Having the ability to just move about, do as you please, think as you please, go and come as you please. It was heartbreaking. It was beautifully written when I was not confused. And I would like to read more from Toni Morrison just so that I can get a better feel for her writing. I think it was a very important book. I think that there were some really great topics that were brought up in this that would be great for a discussion. Moving on to some fantasy sci-fi. My battery's about to die. I'm running out of time. Let's see if I can do this. So first we've got The Burning God by R.F. Kuang. I read that, and that finished out the Poppy Wars trilogy. I was not ready. I was emotionally distraught at the end of it. What a conclusion to this series. I loved it. I will actually be having a series review on this, hopefully in the next coming weeks, so stay tuned for that, and I will talk about it more there. I also read Gallant by B.E. Schwab. I did a whole review of that book. I will link that in the cards and down below. And that was also a good time. But again, I'm a V. Schwab fan, so I had a very good time. We're following this woman this girl who leaves this orphanage in search of her family and to find out what her background really is, because she has no idea who her family is or where she comes from. She's also mute, so she has difficulties communicating with people and them communicating with her. Then she goes to this house. All kinds of mysteries unfold. It's very dark, sinister, mysterious, very good, like spooky October vibes. So if you want to read something a little spooky and atmospheric in October, I would suggest that. I read Arusha and the End of Time by Roshani Chokshi. That was really great. I read that for middle grade March. That was really great. I had a really good time reading it. We're following Aru, who lies to people. She just embellishes her life because she wants people to think that she's cool and that she's not lame. It's her and her mom. Her mom doesn't really like tell her what's going on all the time. But one day she touches this lamp that she's not supposed to touch in the museum that her mother runs, and time stops. And this big bad evil comes out and is like, I'm about to destroy the world. So she has to go on a mission to make sure that the big bad does not end the world. They go on all kinds of adventures with a pigeon. I think it's a pigeon. And she makes some friends. Camera died, so we're gonna try to keep it going. But Aru goes on some adventures, some misadventures. She kicks some ass, she takes some names, she makes some friends along the way, and overall has a great time. I'm definitely going to be continuing on with this series. So I'm excited about that. I read Kiki's Delivery Service by Iyoko Kadono, and I've seen the movie multiple times. And this is about Kiki, who is becoming of age and getting her witchy powers. So she needs to go to a new town and give herself a service to that town so that she can become like a fully blown witch. And it's so fun. It's like these small vignettes of like Kiki's life in a year and how she's helpful to the town, how she makes friends. She also has some fun little cute misadventures, not on the same scale as Aru, because some of those things were crazy, but Kiki had a great time nonetheless. I had such a good time. It was light and cute, and it made my heart smile for a little bit in March. My cold, dead heart. And I had a great time reading it. I also read The Stone Sky, which is the last book in the Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin. I really enjoyed this one. I will say I enjoyed the dynamics of the mother and daughter, seeing them both grow into different people, like because of this event that was taking place, the mother trying to get to her daughter trying to just figure out who she is and what her whole place in this event is. Some people that were missing in action in book 2 were back for me, and I was like, yes, I'm here for you. And then I got some backstory on some of the other characters that I didn't know a lot about, and I really appreciated getting to know them a little bit more, even though we were at the end of the series. I overall had a great time with this. I really had a good time and enjoyed the series overall. I read The Final Empire and Well of Ascension, which are the first 2 books in the Mistborn trilogy by Brandon Sanderson. I fucking loved The Final Empire. I was like reading it during sprint. I was reading the end of it during sprints with Ray and Dasha, and my mind was just like fucking blown. I was speechless. All right, so we're following Vin, who is an apprentice for like this thief guy or something, but she has power she doesn't even know that she has. And Kelsier, I love him. They're trying to pull off like the heist of all heists. And they're trying to take down the Lord Ruler that rules over this world. And they're got a whole group of people who were just fantastic as an ensemble and also as individual characters. But they all come together to try to bring down this Lord Ruler, and you're seeing each step of the plan up till the very end. You're seeing them get people and resources and change the mindsets of people, get intel. It was all just such a great, magical, fun, exciting time, and I loved every second of it. Then we get to Well of Ascension, and I did not love it as much. I still had an okay time, but I think that there was just a certain thing that was missing for me. I did not care about Vin and Elend as much. I know that I was supposed to, like, it was a big focal point with them being like such a major role. I didn't care. I didn't. And I was really missing certain things and people. But I am still very interested in finishing this trilogy, so I'm obviously going to read Hero of Ages because I can't just get to this point and then not read the last book. That's insane. So I am going to read Hero of Ages hopefully soon. I don't know. We'll see how my slump is slumping. Currently, I'm not reading a whole bunch. Then I read A Blade So Black by L.L. McKinney, which is an Alice in Wonderland reimagining, and we're following Alice. Is that her name? I think her name is Alice. She is, y'all, I'm not even gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna hold you. I don't remember a whole lot about this. I enjoyed it while I read it, kind of. There were moments where I was very confused about what was going on, but overall it was kind of forgettable. And I could just read the synopsis and like, but I'm not. I'm not. She had like a romance going with this guy who had her, and he had an accent. That's as much about his personality as I can remember, or that was actually really there. So there's that. So I think I gave it like 3 stars, but maybe I should really just give it 2.5. Like, it wasn't bad. It wasn't memorable, and I won't be continuing on with the series, I don't think. Then I read The Library of the Dead by T.L. Huchu. I was buddy reading that with Steph from Stephanie Bookish. Not a good time. I did not have a good time. There was a library. There were dead. But there was no library of the dead. The plot was very confusing. It was all over the place. The characters were a little flat. The main character was funny. She had some funny moments. But overall, she is somebody who can talk to the dead. She is looking into this mystery about why these children in the neighborhood or like in Scotland are disappearing. Also, this is like a near distant future where there had been a war or something, and now that there's a king who's like ruling everything. Don't ask me anything about it because they just mention it in passing, but they never tell us what happened or why it even matters. I don't know, you don't know, only the author knows. And I'm sure it's brought up in other books, but I will not be around to find out because I'm not going to read those other books. I also think I was hate reading this because I needed to know what all of this had to do with anything, and it turns out it had nothing to do with anything. Did not have a good time. So did not rate it very highly. But yeah, those are all of the books that I read from March through May. Like I said, I'm currently reading some books now. Maybe I'll have something to talk about at the end of June. Maybe not, the rate I'm going. But we shall see. If you've read any of these books, let me know. If you enjoyed them, let me know. If you are going to pick them up, let's talk about it down below in the comments. And until next time, bye.